Shalom, this is Sophia, the American Mariam, and we're here with a video about a saint who actually came up in our reading today on my autobiography channel. And I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper into what we read about her. And I know some people don't like the tarot, so I did want to get this information out for those people who would otherwise miss it. So, Saint Therese. Okay, so first of all, let me say this. What we are finding out as we're looking into the lives of these saints is that the quote unquote powers that were these demonic nine people, these Levitical priests, what they did is they took our real saints who really worshiped and followed our brother and really followed him seriously, and they supplanted them with their wicked people. So when you hear the name Therese associated with Catholic, you think of Mother Teresa. You don't think of Saint Therese. And that is definitely done on purpose. That is a purposeful designation. This individual right here, Saint Therese, is way different than Mother Teresa in a bajillion different ways. And I'm sure Mother Teresa took her name from her, because when in both the Catholic and the Orthodox traditions, your church name is a name of a saint who previously existed. So it's built into the culture that you take the name of a saint when you're baptized. It's built into the culture. Okay? And so that is probably how that's one of the ways they supplanted our ability to tell who was righteous and who wasn't righteous, because you can't just look at the name, because these wicked people are still taking holy names, and holy just means sacred. So these are names that these people shouldn't be taking, and yet they are. So let's talk about Saint Therese. So Therese of Lisieux, also known as Saint Therese of the Child Jesus and the Holy Face, was a French Catholic descaled Carmelite nun who was widely venerated in modern times. She is popularly known in English as the Little Flower of Jesus, or simply the Little Flower, and in French as La Petite Therese, Little Teresa. Okay. So she was born on January the 2nd, 1873 in France, and she died on September 30th in 1897 at age 24 in Lisieux, France. She's venerated in Catholic and Anglican Church, and I can see why she's not venerated in the Orthodox Church, because Orthodox does not focus on the body parts of Yeshua. So that would kind of like be messed up. You know what I mean? So, and you'll see what I mean as we go forward. So the major shrines, she has a bunch of them. When I was reading this list, I wanted to point out, I'm going to read this list. She got the Basilica of Saint Therese in Lisieux. They have the National Shrine of Saint Therese in Illinois. That's weird. They have Saint Teresa School in India. They have the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Little Flower in San Antonio. They have the National Shrine of the Little Flower Basilica in Michigan. And they have the Shrine of Saint Therese, Doctor of the Church, in Philippines, which is interesting. Her feast day on the Roman calendar is either October 1st. It's October 1st now, but it used to be October the 3rd. Her attributes are a descaled Carmelite habit, crucifix, and roses. She's the patron saint of missionaries, France, Russia, HIV/AIDS survivors, florists and gardeners, orphan children, homeless people, tuberculosis, the Rusicum, Alaska, all these different places I'm not going to read, except for the gardens of Vatican City, of course. And she's the patron saint of cities, Wyoming, California, Colorado. That's so weird. Before we read about her, let's click on this Doctor of the Church, because I didn't click on that for. So the doctor of the church is also referred to the doctor of the universal church, is a title given by the Catholic Church to saints recognized as having made a significant contribution to the theology or doctrine through their research, study, or writing. Okay, so these are all people who um, people who contribute to the theology, and we'll see what she did as we scroll through this. Okay, so Therese has been a highly influential model of sanctity for Catholics and others because of the simplicity and practicality of her approach to spiritual life. She is one of the most popular saints in the history of the church, and although she was obscure during her lifetime, Pope Pius X called her the greatest saint of modern times. Therese felt a call to early religious life, and after overcoming various obstacles in 1888, at the early age of 15, she became a nun and joined two of her sisters in the cloister Carmelite community of Lascaux, Normandy. Yet another sister, Celine, later joined the order. Listen. When I This is a trigger for me, and as we look more at these saints, maybe you all will see this as a trigger. But I just want to say this: since she joined this group at age 15 is a trigger age for me. That is like, to me, the trigger age for our sister Philomena, because she was, martyred about age 15. So, what? Okay, later. Um, so when I see 15, 15 is been really heavy number. That's a trigger age for me. That triggers me to believe that this was one of the incarnations of our sister Philomena. Okay, and we'll see how that plays out over time. But 15 is definitely a trigger number for me. All right. So after 9 years as a Carmelite religious, having fulfilled various offices such as sacristan and assistant to the novice mistress, in her last 18 months in Carmel, she fell into a night of faith in which she is said to have felt Jesus was absent and been tormented by doubts that God existed. Therese died at the age of 24 from tuberculosis. Okay, let's see what the night of faith is. Oh, she had a dark night of the soul. Look at this. Is a phase of passive purification of the spirit in the mystical development as described by 15th century Spanish mystic and poet St. John of the Cross in his treatise Dark Night, a commentary on his poem with the same name. It follows after the second phase, the illumination in which God's presence is felt, but this presence is not yet stable. The author himself did not give any title to his poem, which, together with his commentary and the ascent of Mount Carmel, forms a treatise on the active and passive purification of the senses and the spirit, leading to the mystical union. In modern times, the phrase dark night of the soul is used to describe a crisis of faith or a difficult, painful period in one life. And see if they have the... Okay, let's read the poem. This is kind of a long poem. All right, let's read it. Dark night of the soul. On a dark night, kindled in love with yearnings, oh happy chance! I went forth without being observed, my house being now at rest. In darkness and secure by the secret ladder disguised, oh happy chance! In darkness and in concealment, my house being now at rest. In the happy night, in secret, when none saw me, nor beheld aught without light or guide, save which burned in my heart. This light guided me, more surely than the light of noonday, to the place where he, well I knew who, was awaiting me, a place where none appeared. O night that guided me, O night more lovely than the dawn, O night that joined, beloved with lover, lover transformed into beloved. Upon my flowery breast, kept holy for himself alone, there he stayed sleeping, and I caressed him, and the fanning of the cedars made a breeze. The breeze blew from turrets. The breeze blew from the turrets as I parted his locks with his gentle hand. He wounded my neck and caused all my senses to be suspended. I remained lost in oblivion, my face reclined on the beloved. All ceased, and I abandoned myself, leaving my cares forgotten among the lilies. Woof. Let's see. The treaties Ascent of Mount Carmel, 1581 to 1585, and Dark Night, the Declaration, are commentaries on the poem explaining the meaning line by line. Both works were left uncompleted. The Ascent of Mount Carmel is divided into three books that reflect two phases of the Dark Night. The first is the purification of senses, titled The Active Night of Senses. The second and third books describe the more intense purification of the spirit, titled The Active Night of the Spirit. The active purgation of the senses comprises the first of the classical three stages of the mystical journey, followed by those of illumination, then union. The passive purgation of the spirit takes place between the illumination and full union, when the presence of God has already been felt but is not stable. At the beginning of the commentary Dark Night, John wrote, "In the first verse, the soul tells the mode and manner in which it departs, as to its affection, from itself and from all things, dying through a true mortification to all of them and to itself, to arrive at a sweet and delicious life with God. The dark night of the soul is a stage of final and complete purification, and is marked by confusion, helplessness, stagnation of the will, and a sense of withdrawal of God's presence. It is the period of final unselfing and the surrender to the hidden purposes of divine will. The final stage is union with the object of love, the one reality, God. Here the self has been permanently established and on a transcendental level and liberated for a new purpose." Wow. So this poem is, so when people say the dark night of the soul, this is what they mean. This is people use this very lightly. Sheesh. All right. Let's go back. All right. So her feast day in the general Roman calendar was October 3rd from 1927 until it was moved in 1969 to October 1st. Therese is well known throughout the world, but the Basilica of Lisieux being the second most popular pilgrimage in France after the Lourdes. Something else I wanted to talk about that I read was her and notice she was also a virgin. That's also kind of a let's see. It was, oh no, maybe that was a different article. These are all her sisters. They all became nuns, which is so interesting. Let's look at her spirituality. Good Lord, she is well documented. Well documented. Wow. Okay. Whoa, I shouldn't have clicked on this. I can't even get to the next section. Okay, come on. Good gracious. Well documented. Let me just say that. Listen, what in the world? Hold on, we need to read this. The Little Way. Let's read this. Therese entered the Carmel of Lisieux with the determination to become a saint. However, by the end of 1894, 6 years as a Carmelite made her realize how small and insignificant she felt. She saw the limitations of all her efforts. She remained small and very far off from the unfailing love that she would wish to practice. She is said to have understood then that it was from insignificance that she had to learn to ask God's help. Along with her camera, Celine had brought notebooks with her, passages from the Old Testament which Therese did not have in Carmel. The Louvain Bible, the translation authorized for the French Catholics, did not include the Old Testament. In the notebooks, Therese found a passage from Proverbs that struck her with particular force. "Whosoever is a little one, let him come to me. Proverbs 9:4. She was struck by another passage from the book of Isaiah. You shall be carried at the breast, and upon the knees they shall caress you. As one whom the mother caresseth, so will I comfort you. Isaiah 66:12-13. She concluded that Jesus would carry her to the summit of sanctity. The smallest of Therese, her limits became in this way grounds for joy rather than discouragement. Not until manuscript C of her autobiography did she give this discovery of the name of the little way, Petite Voyage. Pardon my French because I haven't spoke French since high school, so pardon me if it's a little bit odd. I will seek out a means of getting to heaven by a little way, a very short, very straight little way that is wholly new. We live in an age of inventions. Nowadays, the rich need not trouble to climb stairs. They have lifts instead. Well, I mean to try to find a lift by which I may be raised unto God, for I am too tiny to climb the steep stairway of perfection. Oh my goodness. Thine arms then, O Jesus, are the lift which must raise me up even unto heaven. To get there, I need not grow. On the contrary, I must remain little. I must become still less. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh my gosh. Y'all, that is powerful. Oh my goodness. In her quest for sanctity and in order to attain holiness and to express her love of God, she believed that it was not necessary to accomplish heroic acts or great deeds. She wrote, "Love proves itself by deeds. So how am I to show my love? Great deeds are forbidden me. The only way I can prove my love is by scattering flowers, and these little flowers are every little sacrifice, every glance and word, and the doing of the least actions for love." Oh my gosh. I gotta find this book. The Little Way of Therese is the foundation of her spirituality. Within the Catholic Church, Therese's way is known for some time the Little Way of spiritual childhood, but Therese actually wrote the Little Way only 3 times, and she never wrote the phrase spiritual childhood. It was her sister Pauline who, after Therese's death, adopted the phrase Little Way of spiritual childhood to interpret Therese's path. Years after Therese's death, a Carmelite of Lisieux asked Pauline about this phrase, and Pauline answered spontaneously, "But you know well that Therese never used it. It is mine." In May 1897, Therese wrote to Father Adolphe Roland, "My way is all confidence and love." To Maurice Belair, she wrote, "And I, with my way, will do more than you, so I hope that one day Jesus will make you walk by the same way as me." God dang, man, she was burning these niggas up. What? Okay, I'm sorry. Whew. Our sister is fire. Okay. Sometimes when I read spiritual treatises in which perfection is shown with 1,000 obstacles, surrounded by a crowd of illusions, my poor little mind quickly tires. I close the learned book which is breaking my head and drying my heart, and I take up Holy Scripture. Then all seems luminous to me. A single word uncovers for my soul infinite horizons. Perfection seems simple. I see that it is enough to recognize one's nothingness and to abandon oneself like a child into God's arms, leaving to great souls, to great minds, the beautiful books I cannot understand. I rejoice to be little because only children and those who are like them will be admitted into the heavenly banquet. God. Oh my freaking goodness. Let me tell you something. That is so powerful. Holy smokes. Okay. All right. Let's get into all right. Together with Francis of this is her spirituality. Is this no? As there's not another adult out there. Okay. Good. No, eat all of your food. You can't have juice until you eat all of your food. Close the door. Oh my goodness, these children. They never want to eat. Okay, we're going to read some of this. This was important when I read it earlier. Okay, together with Francis of Assisi, Therese of Lisieux is one of the most popular Roman Catholic saints since apostolic times. She is approachable due in part to her historical proximity. Barbara Stewart, writing for the New York Times, once called Therese the Emily Dickinson of Roman Catholic sainthood. As a doctor of the church, she is subject of much theological comment and study. And as a young woman whose message has touched the lives of millions, she remains the focus of much popular devotion. She was a highly influential model of sanctity for Catholics in the first half of the 20th century because of the simplicity and practicality of her approach to spiritual life. Therese was devoted to Eucharistic adoration, and on February 26, 1895, shortly before she died, wrote a memory throughout a rough draft of her poetic masterpiece, To Live by Love, which she had composed during Eucharistic adoration. Let's see, what is that? During her life, the poem was sent to various religious communities and is included in a notebook of her poems. What is that? Eucharistic adoration. What is that? It says adoration is a sign of devotion and worship of Jesus Christ, who is believed, according to Christian tradition, to be present in body, blood, soul, and divinity under the appearance of the consecrated host. That means sacramental bread. From a theological perspective, the adoration is a form of latria based on the tenet of real presence of Christ in the Blessed Sacrament. Christian meditation is performed in the presence Christian meditation performed in the presence of the Eucharist outside Mass is called Eucharistic meditation. It has been practiced by a bunch of people. Okay. So what they're talking about is with the exposition and adoration of the Eucharist is constant 24 hours a day. It's called perpetual adoration. In a monastery or convent, it's done by resident monks or nuns. In a parish, by volunteer parishioners since the 20th century. In the prayer opening of the perpetual chapel in St. Peter's Basilica, Pope John Paul II paid for a perpetual adoration chapel in every parish in the world. Pope Benedict instituted perpetual adoration for the laity in each of the 5 sectors of the diocese in Rome. So basically, this is meditating on the Eucharist being the actual bread, right? Okay, so basically it's like, so for example, when they had the Ark of the Covenant, when those people had it before it was taken and brought to this place here, and those people on that island had it was King Solomon, right? And then David the son had it and brought it here to the fourth part with his mother Queen Makeda, to Ethiopia. Anyway, what am I saying? I got distracted. So this would be like people who stop by the temple to pray, basically. And there's some people who meditate inside the temple on the Eucharist, the different parts. This is when, if you know about the Stations of the Cross and all of that stuff, they're just meditating on that. That's their focus of their meditation. That's what that means. Very interesting. Eucharistic adoration. All right. Just thinking on that thing. All right. So again, you see how important meditation is. They just call it something different. It determined anyway. I'm not going to get into it because you already know how I feel about the terminology being what separates us. We don't believe things that are different. It's just they use different terms. They have specified terms because that's the quote unquote language that they heard, that they speak in. Okay. Therese lived a hidden life and wanted to be unknown, yet became popular after her death through her spiritual autobiography. She also left letters, poems, religious plays, prayers, and her last conversations were recorded by her sisters. Paintings and photographs, mostly the works of her sister Celine, further led to her becoming known. Therese said on her deathbed, I only love simplicity. I have a horror of pretense. And she spoke out against some of the claims made concerning the lives of saints written in her day. We should not say improbable things or things we do not know. We must see the real, not their imagined lives. The depths of her spirituality, which she said, my way is all confidence and love, has inspired many believers to the current day. In the face of her littleness, she trusted God, her sanctity. She trusted to God her sanctity. She wanted to go to heaven by an entirely new little way. I wanted to find the elevator that would raise me to Jesus. The elevator, she wrote, will be the arms of Jesus lifting her all the way and lifting her in all littleness. Holy smokes. That's why, oh my goodness. Listen. The way, the path is not through all these complicated books, these magical rituals, and all of this stuff. That is a way. But there's another way. And the other way doesn't require you to do all of that. It just requires you to be as innocent as a child. And that's what Yeshua said. If you will come to me as a child, you will enter the heaven. You will enter heaven. You will be allowed to come there. But if you come with all this knowledge and all these books and all this stuff that you think you know, you want to be God. Again, this goes back to, we've been talking about this for like at least 8 months now. I am really exhausted with talking about it, but I know that it's true. Do you want to be God or do you want to serve God? If the Most High God said, you can only come through me through the Son is Yeshua, or the sun in the sky, same person. You got to serve the Son. You got to serve in the light. It's the only way you can get there. There's no other way. There's no other path. If that's what the Father says, why are y'all trying to make it something else? Why are y'all trying to make it, oh, well, we need to do this. We have to get our souls right like this. We got to purify. You can't purify yourself. How can you purify yourself? Like, how can you purify yourself? I cannot purify myself. Not possible. It's not possible. I cannot do this myself. The only way I can do this is if my brother comes and lifts me up. That's it. I have no other hope. I have no other way. Anybody else who has their own, now I can try. There's nothing saying that I can't try. But to think that anything that I can do personally is what's going to get me, quote unquote, into heaven or perfect me, get me to perfection is a lie. It's not true. It's simply not true. And to read all these complicated books with these nonsense words, stuff that people made up, or even like the books of remembrance where they tell you these stories and they put these names on the characters and they can't be corroborated anywhere else in history, which is ridiculous. Why would I think that that's going to get me into heaven or get me eternal life or make me pure? It does not. It does not. It won't not. It can't not. It is not. It won't do it. The only way you can get to the Father is through the Son. That's it. The only way you can be born again is if the mother births you like Yeshua. That's it. There's no other options. You got to go through the Son. The Son will give you to the mother to let you be reborn. There's no action you can take except the action they tell you to take, but there's no action you can take. There's nothing you can do. You can't clean your robe and make it white. You can't do that. Yeshua got to do it for you. The mother has to lead you. The sister got to stand beside you. You got to have, oh my freaking goodness. I don't know if y'all remember this, but I had read something from the initiation rituals for, I think it was Alpha Phi Alpha. And one of the rituals was you stood amongst the brethren, your line, your members, blindfolded. And a voice would call out, and the voice would say to take 2 steps back, and you try to, you couldn't move back. The voice would say, take 2 steps to the right. You would try to move to the right, and you couldn't move. All the people would push you back. You couldn't move. Then you try to take 2 steps to the left. You try to move. You couldn't move. Then the voice would tell you, take 2 steps forward, and everybody moved in sync.
What do I do? Because Quentin, it looks like Quentin has poop on his finger.
What?
On his diaper.
I'm pause for a second, y'all. Hold on. Pause for the calls. Ew. Ew, don't touch my hand. Ew. Hold on. Baby time. Baby time. Baby time, pause.
How did that even get on?
Can you please go take him to the papa so he can... Is it pooping there?
Yeah, there's poop in there.
Okay, take him to the papa.
Quentin, no.
I can't...
Let me hold your hand.
Oh,
I
goodness.
gotta hold both of your
That's
hands.
disgusting.
Hey, Mommy, I'm almost finished.
Okay. All right. Sorry about the pause for the calls. If I can remember where I was. Okay. So, oh, Lord. 2-year-olds are something else. So, the person could only move forward. What does that mean? Like, literally, the person, even if they could step forward, unless the whole group of people around him was also moving forward, he couldn't go anywhere. It was symbolizing, oh goodness, it was symbolizing how it is for us, how it truly is. If you think you're going to move 2 steps forward and you're trying to do without your spiritual team, Yeshua's, you got free will, but you can only go but so far with free will, because if you go too far, then somebody's going to push back on you. Or maybe, you dismissed your spiritual team and everybody left you, and that's why you're going so far in the wrong direction. Or you're like the Levitical priesthood or in the demonic 9, and you sold your soul to the Leviathan. Then you don't have a spiritual team to guide you because you forfeited them. That's how you can take all these. This is why it seems like people who people who do the most wicked stuff, they seem to be living the best lives. Yeah, because they are moving in the direction of their master, their Lord and their Savior and their God, which is directly to the pit of fire. That's them. That's the choice that they make. Of course it's going to look like they're having a good time. You, me, our spiritual team is not going to let us go on the quick path to hell. Especially when you have a saint like Saint Therese looking after you saying, no, we're going to find the little path for you to take. You can't possibly meet. This is, oh my goodness. I'm telling y'all, there's a reason why she came to us. This is what I've been saying to people, because I've been talking to people about the fast, and they've been saying how they couldn't really keep up. This is kind of their first fast, and it's hard. So I told them, look, do the best that you can. If you mess up a day, I don't know what's going on out there. If you mess up a day, don't worry about it. Pick up the next day and try to get it right. The Most High is not judging us based on what we're able to accomplish. It's based on our hearts. If you legitimately tried to do something and you literally couldn't do it, you're not going to be judged harshly for that. You tried. Because number one, your actions can't save you anyway. This is just your sacrifice. The sacrifice of God are a broken and contrite heart. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me read that out of the Orthodox. The Orthodox Bible is a little bit different. And I like the way that it says it in here. This is Psalms 50. And they're off a little. The numbers are also off a little bit. And the Orthodox Study Bible does not have the Old Testament, so you have to have an Old Testament from somewhere else. Let me see. The sacrifices of God. Let me see. Oh, no, it is Psalm 51 in here. Hold on. Let me see. Okay, in the Orthodox Bible is Psalm 51:17. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. These, O God, will you not despise. A broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. The fasting is about presenting a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. It's the breaking of your flesh, your spirit, so that you can present yourself as a living sacrifice. Not because you're fat. Again, this is why the Bible talks a lot about not fasting and weeping and moaning and gnashing of teeth and throwing dust on your head and sackcloth and all of that when you fast, because then your sacrifice is the pity that people feel on you. Oh, you're fasting. Okay, I'm so sorry. This is why when I was looking for the Orthodox fast schedule, I couldn't find it, because when you look at an Orthodox person, you should know whether they're fasting or not. I'm talking about it because this is our channel. We talk about our stuff, you know. This is our town hall. But literally, yeah, that's the reason why. So, okay, let's keep going. I'm sorry. I got way distracted and I'm not going to make this video too long. Um This is her book. Therese is best known today for her spiritual memoir, Histoire d'une âme, Story of a Soul. It is a compilation of 3 separate manuscripts. The first, 1895, is a memoir of her childhood written under the obedience of the prioress, Mother Agnes of Jesus, her older sister Pauline. Mother Agnes gave the order after being prompted by the eldest sister, Sister Marie of the Sacred Heart. The second is a 3-page letter written in September 1896 at the request of her eldest sister Marie, who, aware of the seriousness of Therese's illness, asked her to set down her little doctrine. In June of 1897, Mother Agnes asked Mother Marie de Gonzague, who succeeded her as prioress, to allow Therese to write another memoir with more details of her religious life, ostensibly as a help in the later composition of an anticipated obituary. Because remember, she died at 24. While on her deathbed, Therese made a number of references to the book's future appeal and benefit to souls. She authorized Pauline to make any changes deemed necessary. It was heavily edited by Pauline, Mother Agnes, who made more than 7,000 revisions to Therese's manuscript and presented it as a biography of her sister. Aside from considerations of style, Mother Marie Gonzague had ordered Pauline to alter the first 2 sections of the manuscript to make it appear as if they were addressed to Mother Marie as well. The book was sent out as the customary circular advising other Carmels of a nun's death and requesting their prayers. However, it received much wider circulation as copies were lent out and passed around. Since 1973, 2 centenary editions of Therese's original unedited manuscripts, including The Story of a Soul, her letters, poems, prayers, and the plays she wrote for the monastery recreations, have been published in French. ICS Publications has issued a complete critical edition of her writings. Story of a Soul, Last Conversations, and the 2 volumes of letters were translated by John Clark, OCD. The Poetry of St. Therese by Daniel Kinney. The Prayers of St. Therese by Ethel Kane. The Religious Plays of St. Therese of Lisieux by David Dwyer and Susan Conroy. This is the part where I was like, what does this mean? Right? The Holy Face of Jesus Devotion. Now, let me give you, I'll give you a slight primer on this. In the Stations of the Cross, one of the stations is where one of the women on the side of the road of the Ponderosa, when Jesus was walking the cross to be put on the cross, because he had to walk his own cross. Well, Simon helped. Anyway, you'll have to read the story in order to understand. Simon walked him. Somebody walked the cross part of the way, but he had to walk the cross some of the way. So on the part of the way where he was walking across, he was sweat. He had the crown of thorns. He had blood and sweat coming down his face. And so a woman stopped to wipe his face. And when she wiped his face, on that cloth appeared his image. It was like a negative was taken of his face from his blood being wiped on it. The blood and the sweat being wiped on it. It was a picture of his face. Okay, this is where the concept of the icons comes from. Now, I just realized this today. So this has like been a really emotional like day because this is like a lot going on. This is where the concept of the icon comes from because people saw him. People saw what he literally looked like. Okay? And then they drew pictures of what he literally looked like. And that's what the icons are. The icons are literal pictures. But then they also have this picture, like an x-ray image, on this relic that the woman used to wipe his face. And that's what this is going to talk about, the holy face. And we might have to click on another page to get to this, but hopefully this makes sense. The devotion of the holy face was promoted by another Carmelite nun, Sister Marie Peter, in Tours, France in 1844. Then by Leo Dupont, also known as the Apostle of the Holy Face, who performed the Arco-Fraternity of the Holy Face in Tours in 1851. Therese joined this co-fraternity in April 26, 1885. Her parents, Louis and Zelle Martin, also had prayed at the Oratory of the Holy Face, originally established in Dupont in Tours. The devotion of the Holy Face was blessed images of the Veil of Veronica as promoted by Dupont rather than the Shroud of Turin, which image first appeared on a photographic negative in 1898. So what they're talking about is the Veil of Veronica is what I'm talking about. It's the literal cloth that the woman wiped onto Jesus' face and had his image on it. The Shroud of Turin was a different piece of cloth that was held as a relic, and when it was photographed, you saw the negative of the face of Jesus. So this is why you have the Catholics with this face of Jesus, and you're always like, well, where did this face come from? Well, there's two different ones. There's the Veil of Veronica, and then there's the Shroud of Turin. Two different, totally different things. And so it's, we'll probably have to go into that because to go into that right now would be too much. Okay. On 10th of January 1889, she was given the habit and received the name Therese of the Child Jesus. On 8th September 1890, Therese took her vows. The ceremony of taking the veil followed on the 24th when she added her name in the religion of the Holy Face, a title which was to become increasingly important in the development and character of her inner life. Again, this is talking about how when you take the name of something, it becomes a part of you, which is why I don't call myself an American. I'm an Amaru Khan. I'm the Amaru Khan Mariam. That's a very, very specific title, and I take it very, very seriously taking that title because I know that it refers to my indigenous roots in this country and also my prophetess roots in this particular religious kind of way, right? In the footsteps of my mother, or the mother, and my sister. Okay. In his L'école de Thérèse de Lisieux, Matrice de la Vie Spirituelle, Bishop Guy Gaucher emphasized that Therese saw the devotion to the child Jesus and to the Holy Face so completely linked that she signed herself Thérèse de l'Enfant Jesus de la Sainte Face, Therese of the Child Jesus of the Holy Face. In her poem, My Heaven Down Here, composed in 1895, Therese expressed a notion that by divine union and love, the soul takes on the semblance of Christ. Let's listen to this. The notion that by the divine union of love, the soul takes on the semblance of Christ. Holy Father. By contemplating the sufferings associated with the holy face of Jesus, she felt she could come closer to Christ. She wrote the words, "Make me resemble you, Jesus," on a small card and attached a stamp with the image of the holy face. She pinned the prayer to a small container over her heart. Therese wrote many prayers to express her devotion to the Holy Face. In 1895, in her Canticle to the Holy Face, she wrote, Jesus, your ineffable image is the star which guides my steps. Ah, you know, your sweet face for me is heaven on earth. My love discovers the charms of your face adorned with tears. I smile through my own tears when I contemplate your sorrows. Listen, that sounds like a rock song from the 80s, y'all. Like, you know they took this. I'm sorry, let me just keep going. Therese emphasized God's mercy in both the birth and the passion narratives in the gospel. She wrote, he sees it disfigured, covered with blood, unrecognizable, and yet the divine child does not tremble. This is what he chooses to show his love. She composed the Holy Face Prayer for sinners. Eternal Father, since thou hast given me for my inheritance the adorable face of thy divine Son, I offer that face to thee, and I beg thee, in exchange for this coin of infinite value, to forget the ingratitude of souls dedicated to thee, and to pardon all poor sinners. Over the decades, her poems and prayers helped to spread the devotion to the holy face of Jesus. So let's click on this, and so y'all can see it. The Holy Face of Jesus is a title for a specific images which some Catholics believe to be miraculously formed representations of the face of Jesus Christ. The image obtained from the Shroud of Turin is associated with a specific medal worn by some Roman Catholics and is also one of the Catholic devotions to Christ. That's from the Shroud of Turin, okay? All right. Various I can't pronounce that word, items related to Christ have been reported throughout the centuries, and devotions to the face of Jesus have been practiced. Devotions to the Holy Face were approved by Pope Leo the 13th, 1895, and Pope Pius the 12th in 1958. In the Roman Catholic tradition, the Holy Face of Jesus is used in conjunction with the acts of reparation to Jesus Christ, with specific instructions whose focus is such reparations, i.e., the Pontifical Congregation of the Benedictine Sisters of Reparation of the Holy Face. In his address to the congregation, Pope John Paul II referred to such acts of reparation as the unceasing effort to stand beside the endless crosses on which the Son of God continues to be crucified. Okay, let's talk about the Veronica. So this is Veronica's veil. This is a painting of it. Belief in the existence of authentic images of Christ is connected with the old legend of Abgar of Edessa regarding the Mandy lion. It is also seen in some apocryphal writings, including the Mors Pilati, that describes a veil of Veronica imprinted with Christ's face. The oldest and best known of these images is called the Vera icon, which is true image. So if you're like me and you love Vera Bradley is true, and icon is Bradley, which means wide or broad field or something like that. So true broad field, too wide field. That's very interesting. Okay, which in ordinary language become known as Veronica. So if your name is Veronica, it literally comes from the Vera icon, the true image, basically the true image of Christ. All right. According to tradition, Veronica encountered Jesus along the Via Dolorosa on the way to Calvary. When she paused to wipe the blood and sweat off his face with her veil, his image was imprinted on the cloth. The story is not recorded in its present form until the Middle Ages. The event is commemorated by the sixth station of the cross. Okay, this is Saint Maria of St. Peter. In 1844, Saint Maria of St. Peter, a Carmelite nun in Tours, France, reported an interior locution in which that's right. Okay, in which Jesus told her, those who will contemplate the wounds on my face here on earth shall contemplate it radiant in heaven. She later reported further communications. Not right now, son. Thank you. She later reported further communications, as she termed them, with Jesus and the Virgin Mary, in which she was urged to spread the devotion of the holy face of Jesus in reparation for the many insults Jesus suffered in his passions. Devotion to the holy face of Jesus started to spread among Roman Catholics in France. What's this? Let's just see what Carmelites is, because I just want to know. The Order of the Brothers of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mount Carmel, known as the Carmelites, sometimes, whoa, that's a big word, known simply as Carmel, a Roman Catholic mendicant religious order for men and women. Historical records about its origin remain uncertain, but it was probably founded in the 12th century on Mount Carmel in Crusader states. I'm sorry. Berthold of Calabria, as well as Albert of Vercelli, had traditionally been associated with founding the order, but few clear records of early Carmelite history have survived. The Order of Carmelite nuns was formalized in 1452. So think about this. In 1452, you have this order. Okay, let's do a history break. I know some of y'all love my history breaks. So in 1452, you have this order of Carmelite nuns under the direction of the Virgin Mary form. In 1492, you have these people landing here in the fourth part. Now, how long do you think they were supposed to be taking over this fourth part if you had the Virgin Mary coming in and start her own order with however they did it, the saints operate, but basically you have her own mystery school that has been started. And what do you think they were preparing for? What do you think they were preparing for? And then you have this nun come out. I want to read this. You have this nun, Saint Therese, come out in 18 whatever. Let's just go back because I can't remember now. Dog, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I just can't remember. But the timing is important. Oh my gosh. Her story is so long. All right. So she became a nun. She was born in 1873. So this was around 1900, before 1900. So so you have this order started in 1492. No. Oh Lord. You have this order started in the late 1400s. Then you have this guy, whatever his name is. Why can't I, I'm trying to tell a story and I can't remember any of the parts. Okay. Columbus. Why that was so hard, I don't know. Then you have Columbus starting his so-called whatever venture to the States in 1492. So there was supposed to be a jubilee at that time, and they supplanted the jubilee with a Let me see if I can do a calendar. That's a good. Not a calendar, but a calculator. There's no calculator on here. Hold on. There's no calculator on here, really. Hold on, y'all. I gotta find a calculator because I want to know this now. All right, we're gonna have to just go to the calculator on here. All right, so we know that there was supposed to be a jubilee in 1865 minus 50. 1815 minus 50. 1765. 1715. 1665. 1615. 1565. 1515. Wow, 1465. Okay, wait a second. Let's do some math, y'all. Let's do some math. The Carmelite order was started in 1452. Okay. We were supposed. Oh, Quentin! What is wrong with y'all? No more. No, you're not supposed to walk away from it. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't. Okay, just give me a minute. This is how the enemy works, man. I can't believe this. Okay, so in 1452, you have this formalized order of these Carmelite nuns for our Jubilee that's supposed to start in 1465, and it never happens. And you have these people waiting around all the way from 14. So this is how many Jubilees we have missed. This is how many Jubilees we have missed. We were supposed to have a Jubilee in 1465. And in 1492, this guy comes here and gives us a reset. That is not what was supposed to happen. Just leave it. I got it. Close the door, please. Y'all, enemy really does not like this. This is insanity. This type of stuff never happens in my house. Okay. So we were supposed to have a Jubilee in 1465, which was overtaken, and we didn't have one. And so how many Jubilees behind does that put us? Let's go back over here. 1465. So let's say we were supposed to have one in 1465. That was supposed to be our first Jubilee. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6. That's 7. That's 8. That's 9. That's 10. That's 11. We are owed 12 Jubilees. We are 12 Jubilees in. We're 12 Jubilees in. How can you? We are 12 Jubilees in. 12 Jubilees. I just want y'all to just. I got to think on that for a minute. We are 12 Jubilees in. Let me look at my timeline real quick. We are 12 Jubilees in. 14. Oh my gosh. And the time period on my 1452. Oh my gosh. This lines up Oh my y'all, this is crazy. This lines up with my timeline exactly. This is crazy. 1452, we were going into the timeline of Pisces. We were starting a Pisces timeline. So we are literally, this is why they're trying to take us back. Y'all, this is crazy. We were started 1452 to 1560 was Pisces. So right now, like I said, we're in the strength, right? So 1560 to 1668 was Aries. 1668 to 1776 was Taurus. 1776 to 1884 was Gemini. 1884 to 1992 was Cancer. And then 1992 to 2100, we're in the age of Leo. So they've taken 12 Jubilees from us. We're supposed to be free in Look, I know I say stuff and it's crazy, but I'm looking at my timeline. This is exactly what's on my timeline. Like, no joke. This is just unbelievable. All right, let's go back. Okay, Leo DuPont, that's who this guy is, was a religious man from a noble family who moved to Tours. In 1849, he started the nightly Eucharistic adoration movement in Tours, from where it spread within France. He later became known as the Holy Man of Tours. Upon hearing of Saint Marie of Peter's reported visions, he started to burn a vigil lamp continuously before a picture of the holy face of Jesus at that time an image based on the veil of Veronica. DuPont prayed and promoted the case for devotion to the holy face of Jesus for around 30 years. But the documents pertaining to the life of Sister Marie St. Peter and the devotion were kept by the church and not released. Yet DuPont persisted. Eventually, in 1874,
Whoa.
Charles Theodore Collet was appointed as the new Archbishop of Tours. The Archbishop Collet examined the documents and in 1876 gave permission for them to be published and the devotion encouraged. Shortly before DuPont died, DuPont was thereafter times referred to as Apostle of the Holy Face. When Leo DuPont died in 1876, his house on Rue in Saint Etienne in Tours was purchased by the Archdiocese of Tours and turned into the Oratory of the Holy Face. The oratory is administered by an order of priests called the Priests of the Holy Face, canonically erected in 1876. The devotion to the Holy Face of Jesus was approved, blah, blah, blah. We already read that. We already talked about her. What is the feast day? It's May 28th. No, wait. It's a Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. Wow. It's a Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. The Feast of the Holy Face. A Shrove Tuesday. Oh my freaking goodness. Look. Just so y'all see how we tapped in, right? Well, what day was that this year? Anybody know? Anybody know? Anybody know? What the Tuesday before? It's the 31st. We started our fast on the 1st. Anyway, that's just another sort of feather in our cap that we are in some kind of whatever. So we're not going to read all of this, but look, we've read enough about this woman. Let's look at her iconography real quick. I'm kind of interested in that. I didn't look at that. This has been a very long video. I'm really sorry. This is her icon statue. She doesn't have an orthodox icon. She have a lot of artwork and photographs because her sister was an artist. So these are her relics. This is her stuff. So this is very, very interesting to me. Definitely big shout out to Saint Therese in the building who jumped out to us today in our reading. I just wanted to bring you some information about her. She is her writings. I mean, I'm gonna go and find a book because I was practically moved to tears just now. Like, her words are just unbelievable. So I said, again, this is why when something jumps out to you and seems odd, do a little bit of research, see if there's a saint associated with it. The reason we got this information is because in our reading this morning we had a double star card, and I said, well, who's the star in the saints tarot deck? And lo and behold, it was this is who came up, the star. So and that makes sense based on what she said. So the Most High operates in subtlety, and these saints operate in subtlety too until you figure out who's talking to you. So I thank, of course, Saint Therese for coming through and blessing our little crew right here. And the adversary is going to do what the adversary does, but we persevered and we got through, and hopefully we get her message out there to our people. Remember, these people want to work with us. They don't want to work with these other people anymore. They want to, not that they don't want to work with them at all. It's just they want to work with us. And so they're trying in all these different ways to get our attention. And so it behooves you to pay some attention to these people because they have real power to help you. Like, look, just back to the top, look at what she's the patron of. Missionaries, France, Russia, HIV/AIDS survivors, florists and gardeners. Don't y'all want to start a garden? Don't you think this will be a good saint to put a little picture of her, a little icon, whatever in your garden to help it grow. I mean, this is the kind of ways that you use this information. You don't just take this information and sit it on a shelf somewhere. Like, you can actually use it in your practical everyday life, because she is connected with an actual, angel. I haven't finished all the research. This is like brand new to me. So I'm working on it as fast as I can, but like, until we find out the whole scope of it, you could at least get started figuring out who your saint is, who's trying to reach you, what your mission might be that they need for you to do, that kind of stuff, because they know when they give us a mission, we're going to get the job done. That's the reason why they want to work with us. If you give one of these other people a mission, they get kind of distracted. If you give me a mission, I'm getting it done. Point blank, period. And they know that's how our people are. That's why there's a lot of work that has to be done that they can't do. We have to do it, but they will open all the doors, write all the checks, whatever it is, they'll do what they can do, but we have to do our part. And so I'm going to do my part and bring you as many of these saints as pop up. And I just need everybody to do their part by finding what saint is calling you, seeing what your mission is, how it lines up with your whole life story. I mean, I see so much of my story in her. I won't even talk about it, because it's just insane, pure insanity. So I definitely highly recommend you find your saint, who sent you, who is trying to get into contact with you, who needs your help, who has lined your life up so it can be like this, so that you can get done what needs to be done. So to the spirits who are here with us, you're invited to go in peace. To my beloved viewers, you're invited to be at peace. And always remember, the Most High, mother, father, sister, and brother are your peace. Shalom.